Hello and welcome, fanbots, to another issue of Comics, Etc. And in fact, we got issues. You know the spiel by now, I'm not going to bore you with it. We are trying new lighting today, so let us know what you think about that. First issue I want to go over today is a new release this week. It is Silk, #1, written by Thompson and drawn by Stacey Lee. Alright, so if you don't know, Silk is from the Spider-Verse arc that just happened, where a whole bunch of Spider-Men from all over the multiverses, pretty much, she was one of the Spider People. However, she's actually from this universe, if I believe correctly. I didn't read too much of the Spider-Verse, but I believe she's from this, the Marvel Now universe, and she was bitten by the same spider as Peter Parker. She is locked in a bunker for, I think, something like 10 years or something like that, but then Peter releases her, and then Spider-Verse happens, and then I read, she was in Spider-Woman, which I did review, and she was kind of fun and bratty in that one. I don't know what I said back then, but she was kind of fun. However, this is her first issue of her ongoing series, and honestly, it was good. It was real good. We get to see her relate to people in her new role as an individual in the Marvel Universe, as opposed to being part of the Spider crew, if you will. Anyway, let me get into something more specific. The art in this, Stacey Lee's art, it's so good. I love it. It's so nice. But in all seriousness, it reminds me a lot of Batgirl's current run, and it is gorgeous. It's kind of cartoony in a way, without being outlandish. It just has a nice sense of humor to it, and that's something we really need to see more in comics. A good sense of humor, while kind of carrying a serious connotation to it. Now, there's other things that need just seriousness all the way through, but this is a Spider comic. You gotta have a lot of humor. And so it's good to see that the art is so rich with that feeling of it's not too serious. Another thing I really want to talk about is the character of Cindy Moon. She gets a lot of explanation in this for a little bit of stuff. The way she acts, the way she is, you get to see some of that brattiness. You also get to see her social, not anxiety, but her social hang-ups, where she doesn't know how to communicate with people. All that awesome stuff being said, I do have a couple gripes with this one. Let me start with the one that's very hypocritical of me, and I will tell you why it's very hypocritical of me. This is another Spider comic. Now, I like Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong. He's a fun character. But we have, I think it's Amazing Spider-Man we're doing right now. Silk, right here. Spider-Woman. Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man. The Superior Spider-Man going on, I believe. Then, the Superior Foes of Spider-Man is still going, but I can't tell you for sure. Then, in the next week, there's going to be Spider-Gwen coming out. And now, let me get to the hypocritical part. I'm totally going to pick up Spider-Gwen. I loved her in Edge of Spider-Verse. I'm so happy she's getting her own comic series. It's going to be awesome. Now, let me get back to this. It's just, there's so many Spider comics that they all tie in with each other, and to understand one, you have to go all the way back. You need to have a straightforward story that just explains what happened in the past, what you need to know when you need to know it. Now, this series may do it in the long run, and if it does, awesome. If it doesn't, that's why we have Wikipedia, I guess. The other thing I want to talk about is that there was no explanation as to what her role in the Spider-Verse was. Now, from my understanding, she wasn't like a big player, but she was part of the main crew. But really, she didn't play the biggest role, but it would still be nice to know what she did during Spider-Verse. But like I said about, you know, the tie-ins to other stuff, it may be explained in here, and if it is, awesome. If it's not, again, Wikipedia. Silk, issue #1. Gets an 8 out of 10 from us at Send More Robots. So for my next comic, we're going to be going over something that I talked about back when back in the first issue came out, and I just want to talk about it again because I love it. Bitch Planet, Volume 3. Oh my god, this series is amazing. If you haven't been keeping up with it or you don't know what it is pretty much a sexploitation comic about pretty much women on a prison colony and how the world has become like a patriarchal, just dystopian. I want to go over some of the stuff I really liked about this, issue 3, and they talk about Penny Roll. Penny Roll is this big girl on the front. She is, as it says, bold, beautiful, and bad. But, oh my god, this issue explained a character that was always in the background for the last 2 issues. But this issue actually shone light on who she was. And, oh my god, it was so good! Oh, Penny Roll is going to be one of the best characters, I think, in any of the comics that I'm reading right now. Pretty much, I don't want to ruin what happens in it, but this is her secret origin. It would be secret, but I mean, we already know, and it's not so secret. I don't think she'll be hiding it from people. She's just an angry woman, and she has very good reason to be angry. Now, this, at the very end, has an amazing message. I love the message in this, and it was just so beautifully crafted in. Not because it was such a cliche thing, or this is blah blah blah. Like, it was so good because the character Penny, she's written so well that when the cliche happened, she acted in the best possible way, and it was fantastic. So, this is an awesome comic. I gotta say, the only negative thing I have to say, which will turn into a positive, is that this comic series has a huge patriarchal, like, undertone. My only gripe with this comic series is it paints men in such a bad way, but that is A, the point of the comic, and B, it sounds really bad, but all the things that it does here are stuff that kind of happens in modern day. Bitch Planet issue 3 gets a 10 out of 10 for me. Pick this comic up. It is bitchin'. This next comic I picked up on a whim, and I don't regret it. It was fun. It's a fun comic to pick up, but I'm gonna pick some gripes with it. This is going to be issue 4 of Lady Mechanica. It's by Joe Benitez. I'm going to start off with the positives, because there's a lot of positives in this. Just looking at the cover, this is what the comic is. It's a little grittier, too, and it's so beautiful. This is a story about Lady Mechanica. That's this lady on the front. And she is pretty much just a hero that's, like, predominantly made of machine parts in a steampunk version of London. And it is a beautiful comic. Now, this is just a blissful walk through Elysium right now. Just, it is amazing art. And on top of that, it's steampunk. So it's beautiful steampunk. Fortunately, that's all the good stuff I have to say about this. Let me get to the biggest gripes I have with this series so far. One of them is Lady Mechanica herself. Now, she's strong, she's confident in what she does, she's kind of snarky when she needs to, and I like that. But my biggest problem, though, she has no character flaws. Now, that sounds weird. It's like, oh, she has no character flaws. But if you know anything about stories, your character needs to have a character flaw, at least one, even if it's a tiny one. But so far, she has no character flaws. I don't know if that's what Benitez is going for, in the fact that he wants her to be very robotic, like almost perfect, almost not human. But it doesn't feel that way because she talks in a very human manner. If we look at a great story from super far in the past, there was once a dude named Achilles. You remember that guy from that story? Yeah, he had a huge character flaw. It was that he was a huge asshole. That was his flaw. I mean, he was just this dude, and he was always the best. So he knew he was the best. He could get away with anything he wanted because no one could stop him. Then his heel happened, and throughout the Odyssey, he's not that nice of a dude. He has a flaw. It makes him human. He's more than human. But he's human. Let's talk about some of the people that we've talked about before. Silk. She's kind of tragic. She has a lot of depth to her, a lot of tragic backstory. But her story adds her flaw. Bitch Planet, all the characters are very violent or very strong, independent, all that good stuff. They're all very flawed. And it's very nice to see that. Lady Mechanica is not flawed at all. So it's so hard to, like, read. The side characters suck too. The side characters are very cliched stereotypes. There's the doctor who is drunk, and you're like, oh yeah, that's not much of a stereotype. He's drunk because his wife died for some reason. You're like, oh, come on. But everyone just seems so bland and very just like, oh, it's going to be this character in this. And the one good thing I really have to say about this is there's a villain in the shadows. Super cliche. I've always loved it. The villain in the shadows. Especially when it's someone that everyone like knows about them, but doesn't know A, who they are, or B, what they really do. It's just beautiful. I love that stuff. But Lady Mechanica, issue 4, is going to get a 6 out of 10. I hope the series really picks up, and I hope the best for it. Fanbots, it's that time. Future's End, issue 42. Seeing as I'm the only person actually talking about it, Guy, issue 41 too. Yeah, it was boring. We're not going to talk about it. 42, though. This issue was actually really, really, really fun. And there's a bunch of stuff that I can't talk about, but I'm going to talk about because I'm going to talk about it. So in this issue, they start off with the fact that Hawkman and the Atom are dead. They got, like, just vaporized. Except the Atom's not dead. He shrunk down to subatomic levels to infiltrate the giant Brainiac thing that's controlling the Engineer up in space. Then, on Earth, Superman has returned, and he's helping the Justice League pretty much save Manhattan at this point. So Superman and Captain Marvel pretty much start fighting the Brainiac god monster thing, which is so awesome looking. Then we get to see Terry again. We get to see Batman Beyond, and that was fun. In this, there's a huge plot point that I want to talk about, but I can't talk about because it's a huge spoiler. And it was so awesome! Future's End is starting to pick up again, and I love that. Because each time I see a Future's End thing, I'm like, oh yeah, I read that. It's terrible. But issues like this make me say, you know, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good at this point. Issue 42 of Future's End is going to be getting a 7 out of 10 because of how bad 41 was. Well, that concludes comics this week. If you liked the video, please let us know. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. If you have any recommendations on series we should pick up, please let us know. We're always looking for new stuff. And as always, remember who you are, what you are. Don't cause any trouble out there in that world. And I'm Mr. Ed. I don't have anything. Goodbye. I don't know what they call themselves. The web. The conglomerate. The confederacy of ickiness. The 8 legs of justice. Every hair on the tarantula. Did you know that eating a tarantula has the same amount of protein as if you were to eat a steak? So, Mark, while you're editing this, I just want you to know that if you're hungry, eat a tarantula.